Welcome back, everybody, to Who's Your Band. I am Jeffrey Paul. I'm sorry, folks, for the weird angle that I'm at. I'm recording this tonight on my iPad. I'm having a little difficulty with the computer, but everything will be cool. Let's welcome in our co-host, Mr. Sean Morton. Sean, how are you, bud?
I hope you get a nose hair trimmer for your for Christmas this year. With that angle,
maybe I need to move back more. I don't know, man. I hate doing it like this.
I don't know. Why don't you try not blowing the friggin' iPad while you're on top? Move back, you dummy.
It's too much face.
It's always too much face when you're on camera, but it's better when you do it a little further back.
It's too much face. Dude, man, I had a crazy weekend. I was doing shows last night down in Sag Harbor.
Okay.
And it was this really cool like house that the Red Hot Chili Peppers rent out. And this guy, and he had like a bunch of people, and it was just like a crazy night. So that was what I was doing last night. So it was a lot of driving, a lot of crazy time last night. But good weekend for you. Shows?
Always no shows. I'm not booked until the end of January. I'm taking a few weeks off. Taking a few weeks off, Jeffrey. We're charging the batteries a little bit.
That helps too. All right. Let's bring in our two guests. We have two guests tonight. We have, this guy is a drummer. He is part of the band Black Rose. One guest is Andre LaBelle. And then we also have, joining Andre, Mr. Josh Lief. He has a couple albums out under his belt, and let's get to know these guys. How are you guys? First of all, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. And let me start with Andre. Andre, you know, I looked you up and, you know, and saw you playing, and like, you know, listen, you're an amazing player. That goes without saying.
You, man.
Okay. But I also saw that you do a lot of session work. Okay. So how does it work being a session player as opposed to, you know, being like in a steady touring band? Is that, you know, money-wise, sometimes is that the best route to go, connection-wise, or is that just like kind of a choice because maybe you have a family and you want to kind of stay put?
Well, I mean, the touring is something that really comes about with the circumstances and being fortunate, because a band that's really out there touring, making the money that I'm guessing you're talking about and having a career with it, like playing big arenas and such, that's, I mean, every drummer out there is looking for that kind of a gig. So they're not easy to come by. But the studio work is what I've mainly done, recording. And I moved to California when I was like 21 and lived out there for like 10, 11 years. And I did a lot of recordings with Vinnie Vincent is one of the guys I recorded with from Kiss. And Robert Fleischman, he and I recorded together 2 albums, and I guess about 6 years ago. But the session work is more like the ability to play with a click track and make the songs happen under like a very like magnified point of playing, because you got mics on each drum individually, and everything you touch on that kit you're gonna hear and you're gonna feel as far as the pocket and how the song's being recorded. And playing live is more about the energy of the moment, just performing and visually, because you got to look cool and throw shapes and all of that, you know, with a lot of the harder rock bands. So I mean, I guess that's the way I would look at it. But session work is the main thing that I've done.
Yeah, there was a great documentary a couple of years ago called Hired Gun, which really...
Yeah, man, that was pretty cool. I watched it. It had the drummer from...
Billy Joel, I think, right?
Yeah, we had him on here, Liberty DeVito.
Yeah, is that the Billy Joel documentary?
No, it's all about session work, like session musicians.
Okay, but was he like one of the focuses, the people that...
Yeah, Liberty DeVito, Billy Joel's drummer, was on there for a good portion of it, too.
So when you get hired out as a session player, do you go into the studio with the band, or do they say, hey, look, here's the song, you go into the studio by yourself and lay down the track by yourself, and then they kind of edit it all in?
Both ways, really. The last session that I did was with, well, actually the second to the last, was a guy named Andy Sussmill, who's a German artist. I met him in California when I was playing a little bit with Richie Kotzen and Deanna, his wife. But Andy is German, and he lived in California for a couple of years. And I did recordings with him at that time around 94, 95. But he lives in Germany. So I recorded Bill Leverty's recording studio, which is the guitar player from Firehouse. And great guy. I did a couple of records with him too, Flood the Engine, and I did Bill's solo record, Drive. But I'll record the drums that hit at Bill's studio. And when I'm finished with the tracks that I create, they're just sent to Germany at the studio that Andy or the client may be at. And then they take those drum tracks and download them into their system with their studio, the computer, if it's Pro Tools or whatever. And my drums are already finished, and they just bring up the drums, and it's as if I'm there recording with them because the drums are already recorded, just sent through ones and zeros through the internet,
During the pandemic, you saw a lot of that. Like, people would be like in their own home studios, and you could record a whole album without the whole band ever being in the studio at the same time.
Well, the technology has really opened that up, where I could record a record with somebody without even meeting them. They could just send me the tracks to a studio that we're at. And
exactly,
I learn it, record it, or even communicate with them like on the phone throughout the recording as if they were there. Or we could have a computer set up like this where we're doing a face-to-face while I'm doing the drum tracking. It's really cool.
Do you have any, when you're a session musician, do you have any creative input into the songwriting? Is there sometimes you hear the song and you say, well, this sounds pretty good, but if we kind of changed it up and maybe changed the tempo or something, do you have any say in that? Or they say, hey, this is what we want, and you go ahead and do it. You lay down the track and then you're out of Dodge.
Definitely you do. I mean, I do session work as well, and I've done it remotely during the pandemic. I've done it in the studio as well. I mean, they always, you can always say, hey, try this chord here, or have you ever thought of this? And some guys guys or gals will be open to it. Some artists are interested in hearing your input. Some have a really good preconception of what they want. So it kind of goes, both sides. But I've never had anyone that didn't want to listen to an idea or two, they want to hear your thoughts.
Gotcha. Andre, you said you had mentioned that you had played with Vinnie Vincent. Vinnie Vincent's a character. What was he like?
Well, I mean, when I was recording with him, I didn't have, anything go down that would be like really eccentric or anything like that. Because people have said a lot about Vinnie relating to like him being difficult to work with or whatever. But I didn't really have any problems. Was that mostly
Paul who said that?
What's that now?
Was that mostly Paul and Gene who said that?
Well, yeah. I mean, he had a falling out with Kiss. But the work that I did with him was studio work. He hired me to come in the studio and record on the record that he was doing. So there's no way I was going to have any problems with the situation because I felt blessed to be recording the record. I was in the room just setting up all the drum sets. They brought in like 7 or 8 different drum sets to go through. So I was just enjoying the process of dealing with the drums and setting it all up. But I mean, Vinny is just, man, I think he's kind of, he's angry, he's pissed off at a lot of circumstances that's happened, but it doesn't make any sense because the guy, I mean, he got the gig with Kiss and he's legendary for playing with them and his ability as a guitarist. He's a brilliant guitar player and nobody can take that from him. But
that's right.
He's always kind of dealing with emotions within relationships with people, and he's got animosities and such that I think is pretty much irrelevant to what he would do in the future. So, but it was a great experience, it was cool and it got me in that family with the people that have played with on solo records with Kiss members and all, and they put my name in the Kiss family tree on the Kiss Alive 3 album, which was really neat because I was a huge Kiss fan growing up,
Of course.
And had that happen was great. And it helped me out a lot. I've done a lot of things involved with people that related to Kiss and that circle because I recorded with Vinnie Vincent. The Kiss fans are like Star Trek fans, man. They love all the little details and the backstories and all of that, you know.
Very
so you
true.
guys, I heard that you guys are comedians. So what is that like? Because you're doing a similar thing to what we're doing, getting on a stage, you know, and performing an art, a craft. And man, I'm not a comedian type guy, but I understand what it takes to be really brilliant at doing that, man.
I've done both. I've done comedy. I've done comedy. I was in a band for a long time. Being a comedian is a lot better. You don't have to share the fucking money is what it comes down to. Whatever money I make at the end of the night, I'm going to split it 4 fucking ways.
I would think it's harder because when I try to tell a joke on stage and it starts bombing, at least I can crank up the guitar.
That's true.
I start talking to the audience. If they're not paying attention, it's like, you know, turn it up.
I was a good lead singer for the one reason is that I would always help my drummer break down his drum kit. I used to always watch bands and the singer would have LSD, the lead singer disease, and they would just walk off the stage and saunter off when they were done. I never did that. I would always help break down my drum kit. I just thought it was a nice thing to do because I had one of those obnoxious drummers who had like the 37-piece kit.
Yeah, man.
And played 4 of them. You know what I mean?
Well, this guy is such a drummer. This guy can play so good. We will do gigs sometimes. He will play literally a snare drum, a kick drum, and a hi-hat. That's it. Mm-hmm. No cymbals, no toms. He brings a snare, a kick, a hi-hat. Well, people look it over and they're like, what is that? They think he's going to set up more. And we're rocking out. We're playing like rock and roll. I have some real rock and roll songs on my records, and we do some covers too mixed in. And he's cranking it out on 3 drums, and people are just like, and he's getting all these sounds. He turns this.
You look like more of a country. You look like more of a country guy, though, Josh.
I'm not really a country guy. I mean, I do everything. I play everything. I just wear. I'm bald, so I wear a hat. That's kind of okay. I've just been wearing this hat for a long time, and just kind of picked it up as a little affectation, and just stuck with it. But no, I'm a rock and roller, but I mean, I play country rock too. I've played really any kind of guitar that'll get me a gig for, you know, my whole life, basically. I've done other things too. I've had other jobs as well, but I mean, I'm a lifelong musician that's always tried to play diversity. So yeah, I play a wide range of styles.
You know, it's cool though. I think now over the last like 5 or 10 years or so, like if you say country, if you say rock, if you say pop, there's so much of it that just bleeds over into everything. Like you have, you know, I went to 2 country concerts last week. I went to see Luke Combs one night, and then I saw Eric Church the next night. And they were just both completely filled out shows. And it's amazing because there's no radio airplay in this area for country, you know, but there's a lot of bands like, you know, Blackberry Smoke's a huge band that would be considered country 20 years ago, but now they're not Southern rock. They're not country. They're not pop. They're not rock. I love that. I love that it actually, you can mix into different genres at this point. Cause like you can have, you know, like your mom will like one part of it, your girl will like one part, your brother will like one part, and it kind of just mixes into everything at this point.
Not to brag, my albums kind of are that kind of feel, and that's the kind of reviews I've gotten. It's like old style songwriting where you don't just pick a genre. So like the lead track, I have a music video out for the song called "Love in Disguise." It was released 2018, so it's a music video. That's like just a hard rocker, like a Hendrix style kind of classic rocker. But then the third song on the record is like more like a country rocker, like something you'd hear, like, you know, like a Neil Young kind of song or something like that. And then it gets an acoustic picking song. It's just, you know, you go with the song like the great, you know, 70s, 60s artists did. They didn't just pick a style. And, you know, nowadays, like you said, country sounds so much. I mean, they're blur the lines nowadays.
Big time.
You know, the country, they have rap and country and stuff like that. They try to do that. But we're more old school, like where it's just like we go where the song goes. So the record that we're working on now is just a mixture of genres. It's not a blues record. You know, I've been called a blues artist. I've been called a country artist. I've been called a rock artist. But to me, it's all rock. I mean, Clapton played, you know, just picking Clapton's example, he's played every single style there is. I mean, you look at all his albums, and there's country rock sounds, there's rock and roll sounds, there's you know, hard rock is cream. So that's the kind of stuff
Beck
we
had
do.
a lot of like Jeff Beck had almost country picking in his style,
for
didn't
sure.
he? Mm-hmm. And also, I think, you know, country music has gotten really more so rock and roll. Jason Aldean, and I'm friends with their drummer, Rich Redmond, great guy, great drummer. I mean, that guy's a rock drummer to the hilt, man. Jason Aldean is really, he's hard rock with a country flair, you know?
Sure,
But,
sure, I agree.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm 55 years old. When I was younger, though, in my 20s and 30s, I love the heavy hitting double bass. You know, where it's now I play more wristy. I've gotten into more techniques of like Steve Gadd and such drummers that were my elders. But in my youth, especially with Vinnie Vincent and some of the other people that I played with, it was all about like MTV, you know, like what did you look like when you played? Like when you're playing, when you go for that crash cymbal, does it look cool when you're swinging for it like a karate fighter or something? That was part of the talent, part of the art that was involved with the drumming, you know.
You take a great drummer like someone like Neil Peart, right? Did you think, you know, I mean, did he have flair, or was his flair just how great his drumming was?
I think Neil Peart is legendary, and his drumming is respected because he was such a brilliant songwriter. You know, a lot of the licks that Neil Peart did nowadays, compared to like Dave Weckls and Dennis Chambers, you know, he wasn't that technical. He did a lot of what they call four-stroke roughs. You could probably hear this, you know, and you go.
Yeah,
Hold those 16ths and then go on, you know, and he would go down the toms. But his thing was about constructing, like orchestrating with Geddy Lee, the bassist, and Alex Lifeson, the guitar player. And as a band, they created this brilliant thing that just the drums came out like an orchestration. You know what I mean? I mean, they're one of the most genius bands to ever come out, I think, Rush. Mm-hmm. And Neil Peart is an absolute legend. I mean, God rest his soul, man. It broke my heart when he died, because as a kid, man, I mean, that guy inspired me beyond belief. In 1977, I was like 11 years old, so no doubt.
I would answer your question. I would just say that I don't think Neil was one that really went for a lot of flourish in addition to his playing. There are some guys that you can see do the twirls and do the spins and the spins.
Right.
Neil wasn't that kind of drummer, but he
Neil was more risky. He was more risky.
But he wrote focus on the song, just like, you know, I mean, you know, and being a technically great drummer. I mean, you know, in my view, one of the best drummers ever was Ringo, and Ringo was never, you know, the fastest drummer or the most, you know, but he wrote the best, you know, his parts. You could just play his drum part and know the song to probably 20 or 30 or 40 songs. Not a lot of songs you could say that to, where he's written a signature.
And his feel, man.
Yeah, signature feel.
Feel, feel, this is something interesting. Feel is really overlooked as far as the technicality of drummers or musicians in general. A good metaphor would be that I could speak the English language, you know, but that doesn't mean that I could present a line like Morgan Freeman in a movie and have the character and magic that, you know, Clint Eastwood had when he just said a simple line in a movie. Music is a lot like that. The drum beat can be very simply played, but the way the drummer is playing it within that grid of, like, whether you're rushing or whether you're playing behind the beat, you know, that float that they call the pocket, the feel thing. Like when you're playing, some of the hits are going to be relaxed, kind of dragged a little bit behind the beat. And then some of the hits are going to be a little ahead of the beat with excitement, you know, and how you float within that and the dynamics of your volume within your playing creates the character of how your feel comes off in the music. And some drummers are very simplistic, but they have a magical feel. A lot of younger drummers don't understand what that means. You know, it's very complicated, but yeah, man. I mean, Peart had both, I think.
Andre, that's a great explanation of what feel is, because we did an episode on this show when we did a tribute to Charlie Watts, and
that guy had it so intensely, it's almost sickening. You know, you listen to Beast of Burden, where there's the guitar riff playing, going da 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 da. And then he drops in with just that simple beat, but his beat, the way it jangles, it almost like it's like a beautiful woman walking or something, man. It's magical within light of what we were just talking about. It really is neat stuff, man. I love thinking about it along those terms. You got me inspired.
And to tie in what you were saying, you know, when you're asking us about comedy, and I think the connection here with music,
delivery, and all that, dude.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, I'm sure you can cover Beast of Burden or any of the Stone songs, but Charlie had like his way of doing it. He connected to it.
I could say any line that that Clint Eastwood said in a movie, but I'm not going to come off like Clint Eastwood. That's the magic of what you guys are trying to do with comedy. And it's the same with what I'm doing with drumming. It's just different ways to get there.
Well, when you sell the joke, okay, the jokes are an exaggeration of our lives, something that happened to us. But the thing is, when you're telling the joke and it doesn't come off mechanical, is because you're connecting with the words that you're saying, right? So if Sean was to do
you're actually
a joke that I do,
is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because when I'm telling the story, I do a lot of material about my mom, about my wife. I'll do material about.
That's a Freudian slip, huh?
Yeah.
You're gonna feel that. You better feel it.
Yeah, I do. I've been doing jokes about my dad recently. I've been doing jokes about life. But when I'm telling these jokes, and you're telling these jokes a lot, But the thing is, I'm telling that story, and as I'm telling the joke, I'm thinking back on the story. So it's coming from my perspective. It's coming from my feel. Sean couldn't tell that joke because he didn't have that experience. Right. Just like I couldn't tell a joke about his dog because I don't have his dog.
Right. It's more like being a cover band. If I was doing his stuff.
Right. You had mentioned that once before, Sean. Right. Like being in a cover band. You guys, we're about the same age. So I was just kind of wondering, what kind of music did the two of you guys grow up listening to that got you into music?
For me, it was Beatles first. I was really little, and I used to hear the Beatles albums. My older sister had them. So I got a Beatles, then Stones. Then I got into Cream, Hendrix, and Zeppelin, kind of in that order. Then just the whole panoply of 70s classic rock. But
I was going to say that's 70s FM radio.
Allman Brothers were a real big influence of mine too.
Great band.
Pink Floyd. Sabbath from the 70s. There's so much great music from back then. It's it's kind of Who. I could just band after band. And for me as a guitar player, I took all that. I learned them all note for note. Years. I would sit in my room and learn. Back then with the record and go back and forth and back and forth.
Are you self-taught, Josh?
I had a lot of lessons, but nobody teaches you how to play rock and roll. Back maybe nowadays, I guess you look at YouTube, but back then, you got to teach you the scale or teach you this or that. But if you're going to get the feel, as Andre's talking about, the vibrato, the way you play and the feel of it all, and to get when you take it all and put it in a blender and then make it yours and have your soul kind of poured into your guitar as best you can, then you got to learn that yourself. Nobody can. I don't think anybody can really teach you that. And you learn the Stairway to Heaven lead as an example, note for note, and then you learn how to play Purple Haze note for note, and then you're all of a sudden you're doing a blues jam and you're kind of mixing them all together, with all those different songs. And so
it's like we're impersonators almost, if you think about it.
Well,
doing impersonations, and it becomes this blend of like the drummers I grew up with, Tommy Aldridge, I love the way that guy played, John Bonham, of course, and Buddy Rich for the technicality, but they all get kind of blended together in my head. So whatever's coming out is kind of really my interpretation of the people that inspired me when I was a kid. So like a melting pot of all that stuff. Same thing you guys are doing with comedians, no doubt.
It's let me tell you, when you first start as a comedian, you have your influences. I know who mine were. And then when you start off, you automatically tend to start drifting towards their cadence, their sound, their delivery,
and that's bad.
How could you not?
The
very English language I learned from my parents, it's all just a passed forward thing, No doubt, man.
And it's always interesting when you play, because we do covers too. We play some corporate events and private. We tour around the Central Virginia, North Carolina, that area. And sometimes in my band, we do that. We're doing gigs every now and then. So you play covers for those. And then the answer is do you want to play the lead note for note? Because you know it note for note. But people like hearing certain leads note for note. You just make it your own. And, you do I always do a little bit of both. Really nothing strictly note for note. But there's some things if you do a song Don't Stop Believing by Journey or something like that, where people really want to hear that intro lick. And if you do it just right, people kind of look up in a bar and go, whoa, that guy's doing it great. But it's, it's always more fun to play original music. And we do plenty of, do shows with that only, but those are, farther and few between. And at least at this stage right now, the money's also in the combine gigs that a couple gigs where you covered.
Yeah, man.
I always think there's a big difference in a cover band and a tribute band. I think with a cover band, you have a lot more leeway to do what you want to really do instead of a tribute band where you really gotta you gotta play note for note. You gotta use the same instruments, the same pedals, the same everything, even look like the people at some point, because a lot of these tribute bands are actually
the tribute thing is really taken off, man. It's kind of interesting. It's almost like the era of music that we grew up with is still popular enough for people to want to get out there and see it, even if the band is broken up,
Yeah, we got a big place.
I was thinking of forming a Burl Ives tribute band, but I didn't think there'd be much of a market for that.
There's a big place down here called the Stone Pony, and it's pretty famous across the country.
So Josh just hired me to. What's that?
Stone Pony he's talking about. Sean was talking about the Stone Pony.
Yeah, so
it's in Jersey, right?
Yeah, it's in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and like they have the inside during the winter, but outside they have like the summer stage where like bigger bands will come and do like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And there's a band called Almost Queen, which is a Queen cover band. The guy looks like Freddie Mercury. He sounds like Freddie Mercury. This band is selling out 4,000 and 5,000 ticket sales.
Yeah, it's so weird, man.
It's the money is out there, which it blows my mind. It really does blow my mind. But
there's a Grateful Dead band in our town that's doing that too. They're selling out. People are trading tickets for their shows and stuff like that. And they're a Grateful Dead tribute band.
Yeah, there's a band doing that now called Foreigner. You ever hear Foreigner?
Let that horrible joke sit like a fart in church. Everybody.
You're talking about like, there's a lot of bands that are like Skinner, Molly Hatchet. There's all these bands that have the name, but there's really
not one original member.
Same thing for Molly Hatchet. Doesn't have one original member.
There's not one original member.
Blackfoot, I know, does not have one.
I thought they had to have one original member for it to even be.
I mean, Blackfoot, I know, does not. But the guy that formed it, Ricky Medlock, has licensed them to do it. I think Molly Hatchet, there's a guy that joined at some point down the road that has the rights to it now. But I don't think any of the original members are. Most of them passed.
I know the drummer, Bruce Crump.
There's no one from the classic.
He just recently passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one from the classic Foreigner albums on it. Mick Jones sometimes comes out with them, and he owns the name. So they tour under Foreigner. But what do you guys think about that? Bands that go out and they have the name, and people go to places like the Stone Pony, and but they're seeing a band, and it technically is a tribute band.
I feel like I was just having a big debate with some friends about the Blackfoot version because Ricky Medlock licenses that. I feel like, Ricky created this band. He wrote those great songs, Train, and that Blackfoot had that great first album with Highway Song on it. If he wants to do that and gives it his license, I mean, it's his music. I mean, I know if people want to go see it, then they'll go see it. If they don't, they don't. Does the Blackfoot...
Do people know what they're going to see, though, when they see the name?
Do most people know the difference? I mean,
I think if you're a fan of, let's say, a band like Foreigner or Blackfoot, that was a big band, and then you go and it's advertised.
Yeah, but a lot of people, if they go to a show like that and they do Hot Blooded and it sounds sort of like it, they're not.
Oh, Kelly Hansen's a great singer,
right? So they're not thinking, gee, that guitar. The guy probably knows the leads note for note, probably plays them just right. So I guess ultimately, I can see both sides of it. I think there's a deceptive side of it, and it's kind of like let it. I mean, Andre and I, should we form the Beatles and start playing Beatles songs because there's no Beatles playing? Obviously not. But
I wouldn't do that.
I mean, I know, I'm just saying. But there's a lot of bands that when the core person, like a band that's going around now, the Outlaws. I happen to love the band, the Outlaws. They're together now, and Henry Paul is back in the band. So they have the original singer who left though after a year. So he was.
Huey still in the band?
Who?
Huey?
Oh, Huey died years ago.
Oh, he died. Yeah, I guess he's not in the band anymore.
Yeah, Huey died years ago, and so you have it is Henry Paul who was in the band for a year or two, their first album. It's just a weird thing, and with the continuity bands, I mean, Leonard Skinner doesn't have one original member now, but I don't think. And I think they're out playing though. I think they're still touring.
Artemis Pyle's not in the band anymore.
Right, Ronnie's brother. Right,
he's the singer. I opened up for him when I was a kid, actually. You had mentioned at the very top that I played with Black Rose, which was the band I played with when I was a little kid. I mean, that was like when between the age of 10 and 16. But we opened for Johnny Van Zant when I was like 13 years old in Virginia Beach. And that was like a big deal, man. I was 13 years old opening for the brother of the lead singer of Leonard Skinner, you know. But he's still in the band.
I mean, there's been so many bands that have gone on without the signature person, whether it's, so many bands.
You're right back, guys.
That went without the signature person. So,
Like who?
Whether that's, I'm trying to think of.
Like what band could have a signature guy, a face of the band, and go on and continue? And,
Van Halen.
Well, they changed their name. They didn't change the name, but they changed their sound.
AC/DC.
AC/DC wasn't as big until they got Brian Johnson in the band.
Yeah.
They never were.
I don't think that's true. I don't know if that's true.
It's true. When Bonds, they were just starting to ascend
with
Bonds on the band. They hit a different level with Back in Black. They weren't selling out masses.
That's true, but Highway to Hell was pretty. I mean, they were pretty big. Brian was it's amazing that's one of the true amazing stories where two signature great, lead singers, came together in the same band for sure. That is unique. Another band, like I was looking it up, Badfinger was one. Like, so Pete Ham was the main guy, wrote the song, sang the songs. He dies and they go on for 20 years, with some guy. I see both sides of it, but I mean, I think it's the best, in my opinion. I guess if I was king for a day, I'd say it should be like what Zeppelin did. Once John Bonham died, that was the end of, they really never really did the true Led Zeppelin again. He was he was the drummer, and still even there, he was such a great drummer, such a signature part of it. And like Rush kind of said, there's no Rush without Neil Peart. And, I think that's the better way, in my opinion, that's the better way to do it. That's why I like it. You kind of says the purity of it. But, the Eagles kicked out Don Felder. He wrote Hotel California, played all those signature parts. They kick him out. They go on. And, now Glenn Frey's gone. And they're still calling themselves the Eagles. Are they the Eagles? There's three original members, or two.
Not like the Rolling Stones where they shoveled the last scoop of dirt onto Charlie Watson. Like, all right, we gotta go back to friggin' we gotta go to Michigan tomorrow.
Well, they said that's what Charlie would have wanted, right? That's what they said.
Right.
Yeah,
the Eagles it's just one original member.
Well, it's Don Henley, and I guess you can't really call Joe Walsh an original member because he's not
original. He didn't play on the Hotel California album. He
didn't know that.
That was his first. He played on.
He played on his first album. He played on the album.
Weird.
He played on the album.
His first tour, his first album, I think, was The Long Run.
No, it was Hotel California. I'll bet.
I don't know.
Hey, Sean,
look it up.
Okay, I'm going on my Google machine here, people.
We're gonna bet some money on that because he wrote a couple of songs on it.
And Timothy B. Schmidt's not an original member.
Right, but he wrote Life in the Fast Lane. That's on Hotel California. Joe Walsh wrote that lick. Trust me, guitar player knowledge.
I don't know. I like taking bets. I'm probably going to lose.
No, Sean's looking it up.
It was Hotel California.
That's what I said.
His first record was Hotel California.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Exactly. That's what I said.
No, you said the long run, Jeff. It's on tape.
Gosh, I'm fucking with you. Okay.
Sean, check me out here. Am I right?
Man.
Okay. So
I get hired by these guys to play, and I have to deal with that stuff. And he does it to me even worse.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's worth the money.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys about another thing that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. And we've had musicians on, we've discussed this with them. Bands that are going out and touring and they're playing with like backing tracks, or in some cases they'll just they'll have it programmed on a computer, hit a button, and they're playing over it. What do you guys think about that?
That's the thing, man. That's the thing.
They were doing it back during Def Leppard's heyday, because I had a friend that was working with them to do with like engineering sound and such at one point. And they all used backing tracks, like pre-recorded background vocals for all the choruses that would kick in. And the drummer's playing with a click track. You have to play with a click track that's keeping you in time, So when the background vocals come in, it's in sync and everything. But bands have been doing that since the the mid 80s and such, you know.
I mean, I believe it's the industry standard now. I mean, it's basically the industry standard. All the Nashville artists are touring with it. I have friends that play with them, and
they just use little things.
They want to sound
backing vocals,
right? They want to sound just like the record. So if there's a little flute part or everything, they want everything there. So you're asking what we think about it. I mean, it is the industry standard. It's what a lot of artists are doing.
If it's being used,
I love when we play. We don't do that, and I love that because we go in Spaceland. We're playing a jam, and we can go we'll be doing a song in the tempo of like this, and then we'll just go speed up and we'll slow down and we'll switch. I'll just pull a song out of my hat. We'll just go do a random medley. I mean, that's like the beauty of live music, I think, is to be able to do that. So, as old school guy like I like to not do that. I've done it. I've played with it. It's
improvisational.
It's just like, you're just kind of stuck there, and you got to do it the same way every single time. You're kind of like almost like you're a performer versus I shouldn't say a performer versus an artist, but it's like doing a play where you kind of try to say the lines the same way every night and do the same performance almost like.
Is that what music is?
Well, when you're doing with a clip, when you're doing it like that, my friends that do that, I mean, basically they want the song to sound like the record every single night. They want the people to get that exact same experience. So the backing vocals and all the various instruments are there. So yes, that's what they're doing as a performance artist. Kind of, they're not improvising. There's no way to do an extra long lead because you're into it. So I think that's distinguishable from what we're doing, where we do go off and I'll take a song and we'll be doing it, whether it's a cover or original. There's one of my songs called Five Forks Woods on my first album. And I do like a space jam at the end of it, like a Grateful Dead type inspired space jam, and I'll change tempo and he's right there with me. We just look at each other and feel each other, and you just lose that. So when it's a good crowd and people are into that and you're doing just like a total riff and going off on a whole new thing, that's what the great, old touring bands did. That's what the Dead did. That's what, Fish does. That's what these jam bands do. And that's what, Deep Purple would do that too. They would go off on these random jams and they'd do 20-minute versions of a song, because they would just jam out.
One of the reasons I love the Foo Fighters so much is that he started off, recording his first album by himself, realizes he needs a second guitar player. After the third album, he's recording 3, 4, and 5 guitar parts. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to sound like this. And he brought a third guitar player in just to make it sound more natural.
That's cool.
That's just what I love about them too.
But they're playing live, Sean. That's the thing. I mean, you were talking about going to see like a cover band and or any type of live band. Like when I go see a band live, I don't mind if there's a couple of blemishes in the song. In fact, I even like that because it sounds authentic. It sounds real. That's what I'm paying for. Otherwise, I can stay home and I can watch the videos and it's the same thing. Or you know what? I could go up there and pretend I'm playing. I think there's something fraudulent about that, and there are a bunch of bands that talk out about it. I'm going to see one of them on Wednesday night, Hailstorm. They play live all the time, all their instruments. It is live. The Black Crowes, they have background sing. They have a couple of women who sing background. They don't have anything pre-recorded, and if something messes up, it messes up, but that's the beauty of going to see a live show.
That's real life. And I agree with that. I hate to speak badly about my fellow musicians. I mean, I tend to be very politically correct when it comes to that because I have friends that do it. So I hate to talk bad about it. I mean, it is an industry standard, but you're right. It's definitely not the same as well,
the bands that I was talking about are just using some background vocals and stuff. They're not. I mean, the drums are real, guitar, bass, keyboards, everything is real. Even the lead singer, but just a little bit of a help with the background vocals during the chorus would come in, or maybe a keyboard drone or something. But that's about it. I mean,
I'll tell you, one of the most amazing concerts I ever went to, and I've probably been to over 1,000 concerts, and I'm younger than you guys, but I'm a concert fanatic. Ed Sheeran. I don't know if you guys like him or not. I saw him at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn with 20,000 people with just him and a guitar on stage with a loop machine. And he had his loop machine where he would start off and get the beats going, record it, bop, go to the next one, bop, go to the next one, bop.
Some loops.
And then when he's ready to play, it's this freaking song that you're hearing that's on vinyl or it's on, your digital copy or whatever. And to me, listen, to this day, one of the top 5 concerts I ever went to in my life, because I'm just watching this guy as one dude on this gigantic stage with an acoustic guitar and a loop machine, and he had 20,000 people completely.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Right there, like literally right in the
Have you
palm
ever
of his
heard of
hand.
Tommy Emmanuel, acoustic guitar player, plays solo by himself?
No, I haven't.
No.
That guy's, I mean, he doesn't even sing. He's just playing guitar. That guy is unbelievable. I mean, brilliant, man. Check him out. Tommy Emmanuel. Man, I'd like to do a recording with him.
He's a flat picker. He picks. He does the finger picking.
I mean, I'm a hard rock drummer and I like to pound it out, but I'm really starting to get into more of the finesse stuff. Some of the stuff that I'm doing with Josh is going to be with brushes and I just recorded a track with Tim Williams, a song called Sanctified that's out there right now on YouTube. Tim Williams, Sanctified. And that's kind of more of a bluesy rock tune. It's not like real hard rock or even on the level of Kiss or such. It's more like a Muddy Waters kind of Howlin' Wolf kind of vibe, but with louder guitars, you know. But I love some of the just the guitar playing and the old blues character, man. That's heavy stuff, dude. You do a lot of shows. Well, before I met Josh, he was doing shows by yourself, just strumming guitar and singing and throwing character, right?
And using a loop. I do the looper, use the loop pedal too.
Josh, do you sing as well?
Yeah, I sing.
Yeah, Josh is
I
killer,
sing.
man. I'm looking forward to doing these recordings.
Yeah, I've written like about 40,
over here. Yeah.
45 songs. Again, I have 2 albums out. It's Josh Lief. It's on Instagram and on Spotify, Apple Music, places like that. I have a music video for a song called Love in Disguise on YouTube.
We'll check it out. Andre, who are your top 5 favorite drummers and why?
It'd be hard to put it into 5. I mean, I think the answer to why it would be, though, is just who it was that I was inspired by when I grew up. You know, the music that I liked is what drew me to the drummer that was playing with the band. I mean, I started getting into Kiss as a little kid. You know, I was like 10 in 1976. So I loved Peter Criss because he was the drummer of that band. And but then I got into Neil Peart, obviously. Tommy Aldridge, the drummer from Pat Travers' band, and he played with Ozzy Osbourne and Whitesnake. Incredible player. Double kick, though. Different kind of vibe. But as I got older, I started getting into the drummers that were really like the pinnacle of the technical stuff, which is Buddy Rich and all the modern jazz guys or fusion guys like Dave Weckl and Dennis Chambers and Steve Gadd and, you know, that kind of stuff. But I like drumming for different reasons. I like the stuff I'm recording with Josh is more of a feel character thing. And I'm excited about these recordings because of what we talked about earlier with the feel and the character just becoming a part of the song versus other stuff I may listen to because just the drumming is so awesome. I'm getting off on that rudiment that he played or the independence between the cymbal and the snare, but that's kind of nerdy drummer stuff, you know. It's really about the music, the song, and what it does for you. But yeah, man.
I think drummers get a bad rap. You know, I think they get a bad rap because everybody's like, oh my God, he's my favorite singer. He's my favorite guitar player. People don't give a lot of credit to the rhythm section. You know,
well, I mean, people, if you're ignorant to how music works, and I use that word in the sense of, I don't know anything about golf. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then it would be pretty easy for me to go see somebody playing golf and just think, you know, they're swinging a club and what's the big deal? You know, but I mean, it's about the song that's going to touch people that don't understand the technicalities of each individual instrument. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're just going to be touched by the song, and maybe they think the singer has got a character that's desirable or cool that they look up to, and that's about it. You know. So
the way I'll tell you though, the way when you get like a guy like Andre, the way he plays, and you play like a club gig, and he's out there and does like just the flourishing at the end of a song. People that are not paying attention all of a sudden like look up and they just want to look who the drummer is.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
So there are people do notice the rhythm. I mean, when the rhythm section's bad, they notice it because if it's out of rhythm,
probably subconsciously.
When it's really good, when it's like really good, they notice it too because like he does, like he'll do these little fills and stuff, and people just kind of like you can see them looking up from their drink. You know what the heck's that?
Yeah, I remember seeing Tool 2 years ago in concert, and then as somebody who appreciates good musicianship, I felt like there was all this like, illuminated stuff going on, and there's all this visual shit. I spent 2 hours staring at Danny Carey, just watching him, because he has some of the most amazing, weird timing fills and stuff like that. And he made
you're a drummer too.
No, I sing and play guitar.
Oh, I was just going to say that, like Danny, that's probably a pretty good example of what we're talking about. That he, by himself, as a drummer, if he was just to take a drum solo, he wouldn't be on the level of people like Dennis Chambers or Vinnie Colaiuta or anything like that. I mean, they would just smoke him. But Danny's playing within the band. And what he's been allowed to play, as far as the music, the way it happened to be music that he was able to do some shit in, and his talent is probably more so like Neil Peart's. He's good at orchestrating things. We're going to do a odd time signature here, and then we're going to go into this. And the guitar player, would work with him on how the arrangement of the song was going to be. And it made him shine, and he helped the band with their songs, but Danny by himself is not a flamboyant licks master,
not at all.
Like Vinnie Colaiuta, not even close. But if you're a big fan of the band, I'm sure people would argue that. No way, man. But it's not, it's the band that they're really in love with. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I remember going to see Godsmack one time, and Shannon Larkin, I think, is a very underrated rock drummer.
Man, he played with a band that I saw in California called Wrathchild in like 1989.
Yep.
And he blew me away, man. I swear to God, the entire show, I was standing right there, was at the Troubadour, and there's only like 20 people in there. And his neck was going like this so fast, it was almost inhuman. And never missed a beat. And every cymbal hit was like some kind of a ninja master swinging a sword, man. I was just mesmerized. That guy was one hell of a showman. Still is.
Yeah. With Godsmack.
Who's he playing with now?
Godsmack.
I mean, he's a monster.
One of the coolest things you're going to see. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
he's a monster more for the show. You know what I mean?
There's a great
he's a hell of a pocket player, man. That guy's a great drummer. But once again, his main thing, I mean, I saw him play when he was young with Wrathchild. His main thing was his showmanship, which was absolutely brilliant.
There's a great thing they did about 10 years ago, because I don't know if you know this, the singer from Godsmack was also their original drummer and became their singer. He's actually a pretty decent drummer himself. And they did the Battle of the Drummers. Did you ever see that?
Which two drummers was this?
It's Shannon Larkin, and it's a singer from Godsmack. So
Shannon
comes out. Yeah, it's called Batalla de los Tambores. So it's the Battle of the Drummers.
Look it up, man. Yeah.
And Shannon comes out, and he's playing, and all of a sudden you see this other kit come out, and Sully is on it, and then they turn the kits towards each other, and they're playing beat for beat.
Yeah, see, even that what you're describing with the show and the excitement of the way they had the production with the risers were electronically moved on the stage with huge lighting. Sometimes I wonder, it's like, do you ask for an autograph from one of the musicians, or do you ask the light guy for an autograph? Because the lighting show is such a huge part of what it is that's freaking you out. If you saw that same event take place in a small club with the two drum sessions set up beside each other, it might have not been even. Yeah,
I agree with you with that. That kind of thing needs a big.
This goes from a guy that was in the KISS circle, So anyway. Yeah. But that's a show, and that's an art in on itself. I don't say that to dilute by any means. I'm just saying that there's so many different elements. There's not just one thing. That is to love about art, be it music or be it comedy. What Eddie Murphy did versus what another comedian that was really famous, like Robin Williams. Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams are two completely different comedians, but they're both brilliant, and I love them for what they do. But it's just so subjective, man, right?
I used to always watch
music is like that. Yeah.
I used to watch the Tommy Lee drum solo back in the late 80s, where he'd have the rotating in the air.
Yeah, I love that, man.
I used to say to myself, how is he not throwing up or shitting his pants? I don't understand how he's not doing one or the other. I would be throwing my guts up all over the place if that was me behind the drum kit.
Well, back then he was probably somewhat inebriated or something.
No, really, Josh?
Some kind of chemical substances. So probably just closed his eyes and enjoyed the ride, probably.
That's great.
Sean, I can't believe that we're 45 minutes into this and you haven't asked this question yet, because Sean is a huge Richie Kotzen fan.
Yes.
He talks about him all the time. And Andre, you got to play with Richie, correct?
Well, yeah, but the situation with that was from Andy Susmill, the guy in Germany that I just recorded with. I've recorded 2 records with Andy, but he knew Richie and pulled me into doing work with he and his wife, Deanna. And she's a singer. She was pregnant at the time with their child. And she was doing rehearsals with a little baby belly, man. It was really cool, man. Richie that guy is unbelievable. He's one of the greatest guitar players I've even gotten near, you know?
Yeah, he's one of those talents that, you know, I
and
think
piano too, you know?
Oh yeah. I don't think he's going to be as appreciated as he should be until his time comes. You know what I mean? This guy put out an album every year.
Yeah, the guy is absolutely brilliant.
You know, last year he turned 50.
Player.
He turns 50, Jeff, right, for his last year, and does a double album with 50 songs for turning 50.
Oh, man.
Are they all originals?
All originals. And I swear to God, dude, I think only 3 of them stink. That's
the other thing. You know, you could put out a lot of stuff. Like when Louis would put out an album every year, the quality was diluted. When he put out an album every 2.5 years, they were all great.
Yeah. Like I was talking about going to see Eric Church last week. And again, great show. And I appreciate all types of music, but I don't know if I told you this, Jeff. So during quarantine, he took over this old restaurant in North Carolina, and he wrote 27 songs. He did 3 albums, put them out, you know, a week apart from each other, 27 songs. But the thing that he did, he wrote the song in the morning and recorded it at night for 27 days and put out 3 albums. And there's not a bad song on the 3 albums.
That's pretty prolific.
Really? I did not know that.
That's to me, that's kind of like twisted fucking weirdness. Like you have to be on a different kind of level to be able to write a song in the morning and then record it at night. You do that once, you know what? You catch lightning in a bottle. You do that 27 days in a row and not throw away any song, and all the songs are solid.
Now, what are you doing? Well, you say you play guitar.
Yeah.
What music are you recording?
I haven't recorded anything in a very, very long time because I kind of quit music to go into comedy, which was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Are y'all living in the same state?
Yeah, so Jeff's in Staten Island, New York, and I'm in New Jersey.
What's the clubs that you guys are hitting, or if you're doing like any live comedy?
Oh, we go everywhere.
What comedy clubs? Like tomorrow night.
Roger was asking like comedy clubs.
Yeah, what kind of clubs are y'all playing at?
Well, like tomorrow night, I'm at the Comic Strip. It's like, you know, it's a pretty well-known comedy club in New York City. You know, but on the weekends, I usually I'm out of town, and during the week, I'll play clubs in the city. I'll do stand-up New York. I'll do like I said, the Strip. I do Greenwich, Broadway. Occasionally, I'll get up at Caroline's, you know, and then I'll do like a lot of like, you know, these other different type of rooms, these alt rooms.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I like to get in my car and drive to Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina and just.
Well, I'll do that on the weekends, or you know, if it's someplace I have to fly to, I'll do that. But during the week, you know, you got to work it out. You got to work out either new material or you want to bump up the stuff that you already have. You know, so that's what you do during the week.
Podcast that he's doing.
Well,
Rogan is a comedian, right?
Well, he still is, and he's one of the biggest out there still. And you know, but that's again, he's doing his podcast. He's one of the first podcasters out there. He's doing it over 15 years, and
it's the new medium, man. I believe this convention that I did at Rockapod in Nashville. That's what that's all about. Yeah. All the podcasters and rock and roll community getting together. And man, I mean, the podcast is going to take over radio eventually. It
already has
computer technology,
regular radio. It already has. I mean, you still have your Sirius XM, which is still it's big. You know, it's still a very big platform. But I think that
no one listens to terrestrial
radio.
I listen to YouTube in the car. I put YouTube. I have YouTube. YouTube Premium. I signed up for that. You get YouTube Premium. It's got the encyclopedia. Anything you could possibly want to hear about, you know, is on YouTube, basically.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Josh, you know, and it goes back to the backing tracks. You know, who wants it safe? Who wants it predictable? Everything doesn't have to be Disney. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes you want something that's a little like, it's not always homogenized.
No, I agree with you on that, Jeff. We agree on that. I think probably four of us agree on that. But the crowd, the ones that are buying, the songs that are getting the 20 million streams in the first 6 months they're out, those are those beatified kind of songs, and when people go to hear those, that's what they want to hear. So that's what it is.
But with podcasts, as opposed to doing a show on Sirius XM or even terrestrial radio, which is complete garbage, podcasts, you can't get canceled. So you can speak honestly, you can speak your mind. And that's why I think people gravitate to that, because it's real and it's honest.
That's what Joe Rogan had going on.
We've been talking over.
That's exactly right.
We've been talking over each other, and you've asked a question, he's answered a different question, and he got up, and we just, we go all over the place. It's like human interaction. It's real stuff.
No, wait a minute. You guys are not going back and editing this out?
We don't do that. A lot of people will do that. We'll edit podcasts. We have never edited one podcast. We'll adjust levels on microphones and stuff like that, but we don't ever take out anything, because we always want it to be like, if we have one guest or if we have two guests, we want it to be like we're hanging at a bar and the music is low and we're all just talking and bullshitting. And that's one of the reasons why we think that we're a little different than a lot of other people, because we don't push an agenda. We don't, like, I'm a music fucking nerd. You know what I mean? And Jeff is a music nerd, but like, we're not trying to like force feed our opinions down people's throat. Like, I want to learn about different things. Like, I never heard of this other guitar player that you mentioned before. I'm going to check him out. You never heard about the dual drum solo. You're going to go on your phone later on and watch it. So if you learn one thing,
you can do it instantly too, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing about podcasting too, is like, you can go in your car and
everybody has their own TV channel.
Literally. You have your own choice of a million people.
I mean, everybody literally has their own TV channel. It's worldwide. So man.
It's true.
I really want to know your honest feeling on this. Can any of you three guys, can any of you really sit and watch a late night talk show?
Only if I know somebody who's on it.
I watch zero commercial TV.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very rough.
You can watch Fallon or Colbert or Kimmel.
I DVR it.
No.
I'll just DVR it and fast forward through the commercials if there's something I really want to see, but I just don't watch it. It's just who has time for it.
Because the conversation isn't real. When you talk about like Rogan, even a guy like Andrew Schultz, who I think does a great job. When you listen to some of these other podcasts, the conversation they're having, again, it's real, that you don't get on commercial TV.
I mean, I would say, Jeff, it has also to do with the abundance of content. It's not so much that. I think, I don't disagree with you there, but 40 years ago or 30 years ago, you didn't have that much content at 11:30. I mean, what content?
That's right.
Now you can have self-selected content 24 hours a day. I don't have to go hear, Johnny Carson talk to, whoever, to Bob Hope. I can instead go to something about motorcycles that I'm really interested in, or I can go to something about guitars that I'm really interested in, or I can go to something about, whatever, boating or whatever, whatever my interest is, how to,
It's true. I think that's why Howard Stern blew up the way he blew up 35, 40 years ago, is because he was so different from everybody else. And then you get the copycats after that.
One of the things that's negative about it, though, is intellectual properties. And like my friend Robert Fleischman that I recorded with, that he was the very first singer of Journey. He wrote "Wheel in the Sky" and "Anytime."
Was he in the band with Greg Raleigh?
I recorded with him. Say that again.
Was he in the band with Greg Raleigh? He was back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's video of it out there on YouTube and such. They did they got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they call it.
Walk of Fame.
Robert was there and got the plaque and all. It was really cool.
Nice.
But anyway, what I was going to say is that he was making profit off of "Wheel in the Sky" that he wrote with Journey and "Anytime" and some big hits. And when the internet became big, to where if you wanted to hear "Wheel in the Sky," you could just go on YouTube, type it in, and there it is, free of charge. All the record sales just died out. So his royalty was just It happened slowly, but so intellectual properties now are just up for grabs. I mean, if you did a stand-up comedy routine that was loved by millions, you'd be happy about that. But then you put it out there to try to make a profit from
I'd be happy if it was loved by dozens.
You can just get it for free on YouTube, and
it's true.
It's the technology just has destroyed intellectual properties and the profit that you could ordinarily make with it.
Oh, big time. Like I'm going to be recording a special probably in the end of March, beginning of April. And I really am torn about how I want to go about it. Like, do I want to just record it?
What tangible thing are you going to sell? That's what we got to figure out. Is it going to be just merchandise? Because nobody's going to buy a CD or an album of your stand-up comedy these days. So how do you make a profit as far as a tangible item? That's an interesting conversation, but
it is. For me, it's really more of getting the old material out and getting my face out. So that way, hey, if somebody does see it, hey, maybe they're casting they want to have a devastatingly handsome, chubby, bearded, fat Italian comic. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're looking for. And they catch that. And then, that's the next step. But it's hard to make a fucking dollar in this industry.
And I had one of my songs, it's a really random music market these days. So I got picked up by this big Brazilian playlist in Brazil. So I had a song go viral in South America. I think at the peak I had about, and it's nothing like the huge artist, but I think I had maybe like 100,000 plays in 1 month or on Spotify. So 100,000 in a quarter. I forgot what it was, like 70. I'm seeing these like out of nowhere. Like I'm usually like 1,000 listens, 50 monthly listeners. All of a sudden I have 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and hundreds of tens of thousands of plays. I'm thinking, whoa, I'm going to get some money out of this like next month.
Yeah.
It's peanuts. I mean, it's,
and then you went to Starbucks and you couldn't afford
$100. It was like I got for like about 6 months of pretty, for me, very intense play all over. It was like Santiago, Chile, Rio de Janeiro, all these, they blew up on these Brazilian playlists, the song Love in Disguise. Maybe because of the video, I don't even know what happened. I never marketed to Brazil or anything there. All of a sudden, I get picked up by a playlist, and I'm getting all these reports that my top 10 cities are all like these South American cities. It's bizarre.
Listen, over here in Jersey, we have a cover band. They're called the Nerds, and they come out dressed up like Revenge of the Nerds, and they've been around for 25, 30 years. They've been around forever. They play every place.
That's still kind of a current thing.
But again, these guys are a cover band that have 401ks, retirement funds. Like these guys are big time. You know what I mean? But a video of theirs got caught somewhere in Japan in like the 90s, and they blew up to the point where they opened up for Whitney Houston at the Tokyo Dome.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
So you never know where your music is going to wind up hitting. Or look at David Hasselhoff. He's the biggest fucking thing in Germany. And it's the worst music ever recorded.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I mean, but the money thing, as far as I'm concerned, is, I mean, I want to survive. I want to make good money, obviously, like anybody wants. But I also want to do the art that I love and hang, metaphorically, I want to hang paintings on the walls of the museum and through my life. It's not just about how much money, I've made, or whether or not my sofa's worth $6,000 versus $500. It's also about what I'm leaving behind, how I'm inspiring other people, hopefully, and just appreciating art, being an artist. I mean, you're starving artist, So if you really wanted to make money, you wouldn't be doing comedy, and I wouldn't be playing drums, and doing session work, right? So
very true. Well, guys, where can we get you guys your handles for social media so our listeners can check you guys out?
It's Josh.Lief, Lief, and that's on Instagram, and Josh Lief Music on Facebook, on Spotify, Josh Lief, and if you YouTube JOSH LIEF, you'll find me. And look up Love in Disguise, a music video for that. Give that a listen, give it a thumbs up. Yeah. I'd appreciate it, or give it a follow on Spotify. Listen to both my albums. Love in Disguise is one, and Redemption is another album. Again, it's Josh Lief. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have a single out. We'll have a single out, and probably by March the latest. So it'll be under Josh Lief, but Andre's going to be playing drums on it. And
will you guys be touring?
we're looking into it. It's very fluid out there. I was really on the verge of going to tour in support of my second album when the COVID started going on. So we're playing a fair amount. We've played a bunch of gigs, but kind of keeping it in the central Virginia, to like in its environs.
Let us know when you come up north a little bit.
So we don't know about touring yet. We're going to have to see what's going on. But if definitely put out a single sometime in March and look for it again under Josh Lief.
Yeah, you can just Google my name, Andre LaBelle, and it'll all my stuff comes right up. I mean, that's something that's extremely beautiful about the technology is that we're not depending on some kind of a major record company or some I guess like a movie production company to hit you guys up and hire you into a situation. In order for you to get your comedy out there these days, you're worldwide right now. I just went to Germany and did a run out there for a while, and it all came through basically the internet, social media, and all of that. Reconnecting with a guitarist that I recorded with years ago in California. So yeah, man. But thanks for the interview, and
listen, man, you guys are great. It was a great time for me.
No doubt,
We appreciate your time, guys. You guys were great. It was really cool hanging out and talking music with you. And again, let us know when you're going to come up north. We'll promote your shows and maybe we'll come out and see you. We'd love to see you.
Awesome, man.
That'd be awesome.
Love to get with you guys and have a coffee, man. No doubt.
Sounds good, man.
Coolness.
Sounds good.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll catch everybody next week. Thanks, everybody.